Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint Podcast. Real people, real stories. Chasing dreams, overcoming obstacles. Come get inspired and take action. I know you're ready. Let's go.
All right. Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. Super excited about today's podcast. We have none other than Dmitry Lipinskiy. What's up, Dmitry?
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
We're good, man. We're
Doing
good.
Thanks for taking the time with us to sit down and talk about your journey. For those of you who don't know, Dmitry Lipinskiy is a serial entrepreneur, business consultant, and just quite frankly, a big influence in the roofing industry, period. So we are super excited to have you on today and to learn a little bit about where you came from and how you got to where you're at today. So let's get right into it. For those of our listeners who don't know the roofing industry or don't know who Dmitry is, give us a 90-second snapshot of who you are and where you came from.
Absolutely. I love your flag, brother, in a picture frame behind you. So that's why I'm here. Everybody wants to come to United States. I was watching quick documentary or not the documentary, CNBC business piece on imports to United States, explaining actually tariffs right now. If you study the markets, like for example, auto manufacturers, right? Why everyone wants to come to United States? Why everyone wants, like, not only a Toyota, Volkswagen, but this is the biggest market. This is the best opportunity for any brand worldwide. We're not the biggest country, but everybody wants to come in. So when I was a teenager growing up in Siberia in one-bedroom apartment, I have access to TV. We have only 6-7 channels. It was obviously pre-phones and stuff, but on those channels, we have Hollywood movies. So every kid in Siberia have seen Michael Jordan play in NBA, and that's when we're kids, our dreams are born for the first time. So my dreams were born that time. I grew up super poor in Siberia. I wanted to get out. I got out as soon as I possibly could. I left my country to come to the United States at the age of 22. I was in a second year in the university. And as long as I could remember myself, 15, 16-year-old teenager, I was telling my parents, I'm not going to leave here. There's something better for me out there. Couldn't explain it, but did not see my future. And I chased that flag and I came to the United States and changed my family tree by coming here.
How did you go from Siberia to the United States?
Actually, United States have a lot of very cool programs for student exchange type of deal. So like, think about how many businesses we have in the United States that rely on a cheap labor, cruises, aqua parks in the summertime, right? So if you go almost any big resort, think about this. You're the business owner and you have location on the beach, right? And you need to employ 200 people just to serve the aqua park or whatever, right? So it's, first of all, influx of people, that city probably not going to be able to even support the growth of every resort and every, like cruise ships, they employ thousands of people. So not only you don't have a labor force to hire from your city, but also the wage, you can't afford to pay top dollar with our minimum wages and stuff. So it's very lucrative. It's very attractive for those kind of businesses, attract someone from Eastern Europe, India, China, whatever. So there's a lot of programs. That summer that I came to the summer of 2005, just to give you a perspective, 2,000 Russian students came to the United States, work, and the program I chose was Camp Consular USA. Pretty much it recruits students from all over the world to work in the camps. So like the United States have a lot of summer camps, but who's going to work there? So I came to work as a kitchen staff in little town Eagle River, Wisconsin, between Minnesota and Chicago, and very wealthy kids go there every summer. I think average parent paid $4,000 or $5,000 for their kid to be in the camp for like 6 weeks. I got paid $1,500 for 3 months, but it was win-win. Listen,
Sure.
it was the most money I've ever made in my life. So they took care of my, they took care of my, food and my stay for the 3 months. So it was good win-win for all parties, but that's how they do it.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I grew up down the Jersey Shore. We had a big boardwalk and a lot of jobs. So we would have individuals coming from different countries that wanted to get involved in the program and get to work. And then from there, you can kind of start to build your influence and your insights and where you want to go and grow. And you build relationships over time. So I think that's amazing. So that's how you settled into Wisconsin then, or that area, I would say.
Yeah. So I came to Wisconsin, and then I moved. Like, they provided us as a bus to Chicago, and then from Chicago, I stayed in Chicago for 6 months, and I found a childhood friend in Minnesota. Came here, met my future wife here in Minnesota. We drifted a little bit for 6 years. I left, lived in Atlanta, Georgia, but then after 6 years, we came back, and it's been 12 years now since we're back in Minnesota.
Very
Wow.
good.
So you spent 20 years in the United States. How in the world did you get into roofing from working at a resort and working below minimum wage to getting into roofing and contracting specifically?
I got in construction early on. So before I started my first business, I was a tradesman. So I work in a cabinet shop. I install insulation, tiles. I mean, you name it, I've done it. I worked for a remodeling company, and towards the end, after 4 years in construction, I worked for the company for 2 years. We were finishing basements. We would take a roof off and add the entire level, that kind of project. So our average kitchen remodel was like $50,000-$60,000, 50,000-60,000 basement finishing, floors, whatever. But my boss mismanaged money. So it was 5 of us on the team and tons of subs. He mismanaged money, and to the point where he filed bankruptcy for the first time ever. I didn't get paid. Nobody did. It was an absolute disaster. But I already was doing side gigs, kind of, working for him 4 days a week, and then Friday, Saturday doing my own projects. And when I heard that he pretty much told me, I'm done, no more, company's dissolving, I'm filing bankruptcy. I came home, I said to my wife, I'll never work for anyone else. I never did. So my first business that I opened out of that was a flooring company. I did it for 2 years. I ended up selling it and moving back to Minnesota. But when I did a transition from Atlanta to Minneapolis, there is a 1,100-mile distance. Wherever you build there, it does not matter. Your client's not going to follow you. Your reputation's, you might as well start from nothing. So I was a flooring guy moving back to Minneapolis. And in Minneapolis, I used to install siding. So I know a lot of siders in town. So I used to work with this guy, Alex, my best buddy. And for 6 months, I installed siding for him. So I called him up and says, Alex, I'm moving back to Minnesota. If you would start a business today, what would you do? And I remember like today, he said roofing. I'm like, why roofing? And he's a siding guy. I'm like, why roofing? Well, money is in roofing. And then I asked the same question to all my buddies, like, hey, I would call random construction guy I used to work with, like, if you would start a business today, what would you do? Listen, everybody knows that money is in roofing. Every builder knows that. You will never find a builder. If you call a builder today, say, hey, can you install my roof? He will never turn down a project.
That's right.
He might say like, oh, I don't do floors, but I'll find a guy for you. I don't do kitchens, but I have a company, right? But nobody, everybody's a roofer. Yes, you just need to know one sub. It's a quick 1-day project, quick cash, right? So, but everybody knows the money is in roofing, but they also know that it's competitive, it's tough. So I started doing my research, and like, I did not know anything about roofing, but I did not care. The roofing actually is very similar to flooring as far as trade goes. It's patterns, right? It's materials, right? But the difference is you're outside versus inside, and I did not want to be inside anymore. When I was in the flooring business, I have so many issues with the homeowners, moving furniture. They have to be home, or they have to give you keys to be home, and you have to do it yourself. It's like, imagine this. You're running your flooring company and you're running subs, and you have to move furniture, and there's a staff around, and you you can send the sub to do a roofing job, but you cannot send the sub to do, to wealthy home. Like, you have to manage them, you have to be there. So I've been accused. I'll give you just one example. I have a homeowner suing me for dent on his chair for $5,000. After we finished the job, he literally accused me for stealing his nightstand. He's like, "Oh, by the way, you stole my nightstand." I'm like, "What?" And he has like little door. We have to move a lot of furniture. We have little door to the attic in his master bedroom. We open it and we put the furniture there. And I guess we did not put it back, so he could not find it. And I mean, he was accusing me of freaking. And I went to the court to defend my name. I'm like, so he showed a picture of the dent of the kitchen table, and we've seen it. We've seen the dent. And what do you think? I'm gonna use my hammer next to the chair? Out of all things, there's bigger things to move, right? And I remember the judge was so awesome. He just read the character. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Is this what we're dealing with? Like $5,000 for this dent for entire set?" He's like, "Take it." He dismissed the case. So anyway, look,
what a headache and a
people are crazy. People are crazy. I mean, I tell roofers all the time, if you think roofing is tough, like, I love how roofers goes, "Oh, quality of my work speaks for itself." I've never seen a perfect job. And I guarantee any roofer who tells me he does a perfect job, I'll find, not only bad stuff on the roof, but the stuff like how it's a miracle they don't leak. I mean, high nails. I mean, it's impossible. You're working at angles. There's so many moving parts to the roofing project that no roof is perfect, but nobody cares about it. But floors, painting, cabinets, if you ever done a final walk-on flooring job or a painting job and give homeowner blue tape, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're just praying that the grout will not fall off, the floors will not squeak, the cabinets will not have little cracks or misalignments, right? Roofing is the most forgiving trade ever. We get paid the most dollars to what it would do. People never walk on our stuff. If it doesn't leak for the first couple of months, we're golden. I mean, we have it easy.
That's the truth. Let's take a step back for a second. I mean, you just established yourself. You just identified roofing was it, but now you needed to build a brand and a network. And to me, Dmitry Lipinskiy is an expert at building brands and networks. Like, go back to those beginning stages and you maybe not even knowing what route you should go. Like, what was your strategy and how'd you find success there?
Well, 2013, I started a roofing company. Funny enough, I started my YouTube channel for my roofing company in 2014. Like, I'm an educator. So one thing I didn't tell you yet is I'm a teacher by trade. So I have a 3-year of college degree and 2 years of university before United States. So I always wanted to teach. All my life, I'm a teacher. I'm teacher by heart. Like, I'll teach people, whether I get paid to teach people or not. Like, I like to teach. So I always saw myself in front of 30, 40 kids and just present. Actually, history is my major. I love history. So my kids actually begging me now, is like, "Can you come to our school?" They don't like their history teacher. Like, can you teach history at our school? Anyway, so I'm a teacher. For me, the approach I take to business, it cannot be about money. It cannot be about sales. Just, basic stuff like answer your phone call, be on time, and do what you're going to do, right? But then tell the story. Like, I never lead with how I'm the best, how I'm better than others. Like, if I meet you, I want you to remember me as a guy who's living American dream and working his ass off. That's like, I'm an immigrant who grew up in Siberia, who built businesses in the United States, and I want to be the hardest working guy. I'm a workaholic. I want to outwork you in everything, whether it's YouTube. I mean, my first 3-4 years of building a roofing company, I didn't have a life. Typical journey for anybody who started a roofing company from the ground up. 5 a.m, you bringing trailers up, 7, 8 p.m, you picking up checks. I've done my sales. I mean, I did $900,000 in sales very first year. I was the only sales rep. So I sold every job. I've managed every job. I brought trailer to every job. I was hands-on guy, like
full cycle.
Yeah, full cycle. So, but this is how you later earn the respect from your team. When you can do anything, like I knew my QuickBooks, at night I would reconcile my books. I always knew where money is going. Like I always knew, where my marketing dollars are. So I advertise. I was my own marketer. I was all my own accountant. But I also start delegating. I mean, after 2-3 years, we already have a team of 3-4 people. I have like 5-6 vehicles. I always invested. Get this, first year in business, I've paid myself $60,000, like $1,000 salary, and but I earned 140. So I put back in my company, what is it, like 80 grand? So I bought a Nissan, one of those NV vans, like cash, $15,000 or $16,000. I have 3 dump trailers after first year in business. So I started with a Volkswagen Jetta, nothing, just me and kind of little diesel car. And 2 years later, I have 2 trucks, 3 trailers, van, cargo van. My sales guys always drove my vehicles. Why? Because even if you make $200,000, you have to learn how to like live on beyond your means. And for me, paying myself $60,000 and investing $80,000 back in your business, that was the most important thing. And
so
then I
scale. Only way to scale is to stay lean and to stay hungry. And once you start overdoing it, that's when you start to not be able to move the needle as much. So that's the mindset that it takes.
I got to jump in on that one. So Dmitry, I worked for my father for a period of time. I bought a big jacked up Ford. It was all murdered out, really nice looking truck, and went to go start the roofing business. And I knew I needed to put all of my extra capital into the business. I bought a Ford Focus. It was the ugliest thing ever, but it was brand new. Got 42 miles per gallon, and it cost me like $300 a month. So that's how I actually started, was in a Ford Focus, and all the way up until we did just under 15 million in our first. I mean, in our first 4 years. Year 4, we did $14.7 million in revenue. I still paid myself 50 grand a year because of that same philosophy that you just said, which is investing. Every dollar that you take out of the business is a dollar that you can invest into the future of that business. And in the early days, it is incredibly crucial to invest those dollars early, or you'll be playing catch up for the rest of your life.
So true. So true.
Yeah. I love it. I'm learning more stuff today about you than I knew. So I hope the listeners are enjoying this. But one thing that sticks out to me, or what I've learned over the years, I mean, I think it was 2017 when I first came across you. You love challenges and you live for challenges. I remember my CEO at the time, David Bazzelli, for Job Progress. I think where were we at? We were in Texas for IRE, and I think it was an arm wrestling match, and both of you were going at it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And
I remember that.
And I seen 2 warriors that did not want to lose and that would accept any challenge. And then that was, I think, the first time where I saw your grit and your tenacity. But over the years, I've seen that you fight for everything that's right and what you believe in. And it's not about the big guy, it's about the little guy, right? Because it's that American dream, and you've been there, and you want to see and help and educate all these folks that have the same dreams and aspirations that you have, and you want to be a guiding voice for them. And it doesn't matter if it's the biggest, baddest monster in the room, you will take that on. And I've learned to appreciate that time after time after time, whether it was, a big manufacturer or, a fake guru or this, that, and the third. You fight for what's right, and you put yourself on the line because you want to see everyone rise to the occasion with you. Can you talk about challenges and what you're after today and what the overall goal is for your vision and your businesses? I know that's a lot all in one, but
I think someone said it best. If you want to understand a person, you have to look at his childhood and how he was born and raised and stuff. And it's so true. Like, to understand me, why I like fighting, like, not that I like just like any smart businessman, I hate conflict. I will do everything to avoid the conflict. But there's so many times where conflict is not avoidable, and you have to pick between your comfort and to do what's right. So I grew up in Siberia, and I've had plenty of fights growing up, not only street fights, but also like what people don't understand, like Russia is a very diverse country. So you see MMA now, you see Dagestan, right?
Yeah.
What people don't get is, like, I'm from Siberia, but 50% of my people, like in my class, 50% would be Dagestanians. Like Chechnya, Dagestan, it's a big region. And they, in my city, like on the streets, you have gangs or groups of guys. You have Mexicans, you have blacks, you have Americans, you have, right? So in Russia, we would have Dagestans, Chechens, Russians, right? That's how we are. So like if we would go wall on wall, like fighting, like 50 and 50, there would be like Russian versus Dagestans. Like, that's my childhood. So like, I'll give you one example. One time I think I was like 8th grade, and this guy from Dagestan, we have a fight. I broke his finger. So I was wearing dress shoes after school, and he was after me. He threw a rock at me or something. He wanted to fight. Anyway, it was a few of them, and they're like, let's fight. So we start fighting, and I guess I tried to kick him during the fight, and he tried to protect him with his hand and with his index finger. So I hit it with a dress shoes. So boom, so broke his finger. Later that day, his dad, like, he was in my building. It was like 5-bedroom apartment. So later, his dad come to my dad. So my dad opens the door. His son just came, I guess, from the hospital, all tied up. He's like, your son did this. You owe me like medical bill or something.
Right.
And I will never forget. My dad says, well, if you don't want to pay for your medical bills, you better leave now. My dad just sent him off. I was like, so they fought? Like, my dad asked me later, like, what happened? Because my dad knew it. Like, I would not pick on the weak. I didn't like bully someone. It's like, oh, they fought and you have injury. Like, I'm not responsible for it. So he's like, just leave. Like, anyway, but with all of that, I learned stand up for yourself. My dad was a truck driver. He worked for oil companies, big government oil companies. And oftentimes he would not get paid. I'm talking about not getting paid for 8 months, 12 months, 15 months. They would build a bridge somewhere in the middle of Tundra, Siberia, wherever. And my mom, because I'm oldest of 7 kids, my mom would go with me, take me with, to the biggest offices of oil companies. Like, here's my mom, and this is in my blood. She would walk in to some freaking big shot for oil company, and she would tell him in his face, I'm a mother of 7 kids. If I get in your face right now, nobody will recognize you, and I will get nothing. I'm in affection right now. Like, I don't have food on my table, and you owe my husband for 8 months worth of work. I'm not living here without a paycheck. And she would get paid, right? So several times, like, we would get in the news. Like, I'll give you one last story for you to understand where I am today. I'm in university, 1,000 miles away from my hometown. I come in to study one day, and Dean comes to me. He's like, Dmitry, come to the office. I'm like, what's going on? Are you okay? Is everything okay? How can we help? I have no idea what they're talking about. They have seen my family on the regional news. We're 1,000 miles away. We're like different region. It's like, if you're in Orlando, Florida, and I'm in Minneapolis, and you see my family in the news, I'm like, what is going on? And it's like, we saw your family in the news. I'm like, what freaking news? It was pre-cell phone. So I'm calling my family, trying to figure out what's going on. So here's what happened. My dad worked for this guy and with like 20 other guys for a long period of time, like a year and a half, and they were not getting paid. And I think they bankrupted the company, the government company who gave them work. But he was running for the mayor of the city. Like, he was like one of the candidates, and he was like the top executive for this company, like corruption at its finest. My mom call the freaking local news and say, my family going on a hunger strike. We're not going to eat until this kind of bullshit is happening in our town.
Got it done. She got it done.
So I'm calling my family, like talking to my sister. I'm like, hey, what's happening? hey, Dmitry, like wherever you see on the news, don't believe it. We're actually eating. And they would not even tell me that because they did not want me to worry, right?
Sure.
So my mom would got a news company coming to us, and guess what? He did not win. That we got paid, and the guy did not win. So my mom is probably the biggest manipulator, the biggest fighter I know. I mean, is mother of 7 kids, right? And in those times, in like 90s and 2000s in Russia, today is a little bit, but Russia is a crazy country. Like most developing countries are like that. Huge corruption, and you have to fight for yourself. But when you raise 7 kids and you have everything on the line, and someone is screwing you over big money, and then they trying to become like. My dad would not do it. My dad is the nicest guy ever, but my mom would. So this is the stories I've been growing up with. Like you have to fight for yourself. You have to stand up. Now I come to the United States. I become whoever I become, and then I see similar shit is happening in the roofing industry, right? Now, how do you think I feel when Saab or sales rep comes to me and say, "Hey, Dmitry," I remember like today, Saab from Atlanta, Georgia, came to me and say, "Hey, I'm not getting paid $2,000 for, I think it was like trailers. Like he did 6 trailers for this guy, and the guy is like big shot on Facebook, right? Like Rolexes, all of that." And he sent me screenshots of his text messages with the guy, and the stuff that the guy was saying to him. "Oh, you're okay, we're fine. You have a foot in your plate. Be grateful." Like he was like gaslighting him and belittling him. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I called the guy. I said, you have until Friday to pay this guy or else, right? He did not pay him. So I posted screenshots because it was so nasty. The guy got canceled. He actually paid him after I posted immediately because he was so bad. He got so many negative reviews. Everybody who read it is like, what the heck? You're not paying your dumpster guy and you doing this and you saying that when you don't pay it. It wasn't like work with me, like it was like, no, you're fine, don't try to play victim here, it's a great country, and like we'll all make good money, right? And like
no good.
it was $80,000 job and he cannot pay $2,000 for dumpsters. So anyway, the point is, when I hear those kind of stories, and what that Saab told me, what he told me, actually was a referral. Someone called me and said, "Hey, Dmitry, this guy is really screwing his subs. Can you help them? Talk to this guy." So after I talked to him, he was in financial trouble. He literally could not pay his bill that, I forgot what it was. And I feel for it. I'm like, and I have a position where I know if I say something, it will have circum. So I do what I do best.
I think there's a few things to unpack from that. One would be, I feel like once you get to a certain point in life, you almost feel like you have an obligation to help others that are walking a similar path that you've already walked. Now, obviously, we all still have goals and dreams, and we're trying to take ourselves somewhere. But if we can lend a hand down to somebody who's coming up through it and save them a heartache or save them some trouble or maybe help them along the way, I feel like there's a part of us once we reach a certain level that feels like we have an obligation to help those that are a little bit lower in terms of where they're at in their professional career. And if we can lend a hand down to help them, it's going to pay off tenfold. I believe that karma is very real, and in some way, shape, or form, it will come a full 360. But the other thing that you said that business owners in 2025 need to be very mindful of is all of their actions can and will be scrutinized by everyone. And with social media and the ability to distribute media at a mass scale very quickly is very real. You need to make sure that you're operating the way that as if the whole entire universe is watching you always, right? We're not always going to make the best decisions. We're not always going to be Mr. or Mrs. Perfect, but we have to operate with our team, with our subcontractors, with our customers, as if we are being scrutinized, because the internet is incredibly powerful. And if you don't, it can catch up with you really, really quick, because Dmitry could just blast you on social media. Next thing you know, you don't even have a brand anymore. But somebody who's acting up need to be put in line pretty quick.
Anyone can do it. And I tell people all the time, you don't need me to run the story. You can run the story. This day and time, if you honestly go like with the honesty and with honestly sharing your story. If you've been victimized, someone did something to you, it doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be sexual abuse, it could be, right, telling your story by yourself. You can, like, if like, for example, if subs start going out, or if people start going out and sharing their experience, not just in review, there's always two sides to the story. I feel like people who are looking for someone else to fight their fight, either like hiding something on their own, what they did, because they're, especially sales guys, we have I would say I say no to like 95% of sales reps who come to me. Is like, oh, Dmitry, this guy did not pay me $120,000. Well, a lot of times it takes place, because the owner is a crook. More times they're not. There's two sides of the story. It's probably a sales rep did not do what he's supposed to do, and
Right.
he's not as good as he said, right? So I'm not here to fight everyone's fight, but if I see someone is clearly taking advantage of others,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly go Facebook group to Facebook group, I'm talking about, marketers who are just straight out scamming people. I mean, those people need to be stopped. If I see anyone lying and deceiving people, how else? Yeah, and also those people are usually very good at lying, very good at deceiving, and they'll do it for as long as they can until someone calls them out. The question is when that moment will. I mean, I remember one of the first people ever, Joshua Waxman, 5 or 6 years ago, you might remember. I mean, the guy screwed like 150, 200 roofers in his own words. Like, how many clients do he did not have 3 referrals to his name. I asked him, can you give me 3 referrals? He came up with the 2 names in a week. And none of those 2 would actually recommend him. Who's going to stop guys like that? Yeah. And when is the stop? So he took $250,000 for 150 roofers, average $2,500, but number could go to thousands.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. We appreciate you for what you're doing. It's all about transparency and education with you, and that's what I love about it. And there's not too many people like you, so keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And again, I'll go back to it, but I learned a lot about you today, so super grateful for your time. I do want to pivot the conversation a little bit and move away from the entrepreneurial side and move into really kind of some industry specific stuff. Someone told me not too long ago, which is really starting to, weigh itself out, but change isn't needed, change is necessary. And I think the roofing and exterior industry as a whole, we're experiencing a tremendous amount of change. Now that can be scary, a lot of people can be scared about that, but I think change is necessary. What are you seeing, or what are you feeling, and what are you seeing as a kind of the future of all this change, whether it be, these big private equity groups and these mashups and roll-ups and purchases and all that kind of good stuff? Talk to me about that.
Well, we have good changes, we have bad changes. I think private equity, generally speaking, like where we're today, is probably not as good as we have some good private equities. I have to be careful, but I also have seen quite that already out of business.
Sure.
Absolute scams or just pump and dump. There's big money also create, like if you study private equity, what they've done to restaurant business, for example. If you, like I recently was researching a little bit on why couple restaurant chains went out of business. Red Lobster is one of them, because they buy them, they get their real estate out, and someone gets super rich, but someone losing everything, right? So when you look at a big picture, I always ask myself, is it good for the consumer? Is it good for end user? Like, would you, like you guys roofers, right? Let's say you sell your businesses and move to another state. Are you going to hire private equity company to re-roof your house, or are you going to hire, someone like local guy that you can trust or build a connection with, right? So I think small business is here to stay. The changes that I would like to see in the industry, and I think is getting there slowly, we have to elevate the sub, because for years we've been investing in the business owners and we've been investing in the sales reps.
Mm-hmm.
Like all our trainings, all our events, all our conferences, it's all around business owner. I'm talking about suppliers, I'm talking about manufacturers. Most trainings that I see that glorifies, most conferences, wine and dine events, right? It's all for business owners and sales reps, right? But here's the tricky part. I talked to the sub a week ago who came to me for advice, and you probably know that it's true, unfortunately. So how many price increases we've seen in the past 5 years on material end?
See one every 2 to 3 years. I mean, you see one 2 to 3 times a year.
Exactly. So the sub who were charging $70 5 years ago probably charging $90 today. And the uphill battle is, if that sub comes to you and say, I want to charge $100, most roofing companies say no. They say, no, here's my price list. So you're not going to say no to the supplier. You're not going to say no to the manufacturer. Roofers just take whatever is like from top to them, top down. Like if Google say marketing is more, if websites used to cost $3,000. Now you pay for the website $15,000. You shut up about it. This is just the cost. If Google says it's a $200 per click, you're going to eat it, right? Because you need business. So the only cost that we push down as a contractors is a labor, which is I absolutely hate, because this is the only bill that should also go up. So if you talk to the subs and how much money they make, it's the category of people in our industry who are being stripped from wealth. They used to make money, way better money, right? With the inflation, cost of living, this is the category that I feel, I have the most feeling towards. Like that's the category I want to help. We have to elevate them. And if they unionize, like if let's say you're the contractor and sub comes to you and say, nope, I'm charging you 120 now. You're like, nope, not gonna happen. I have other guys. And another guy comes in 120. So if they unionize, if they get together and demand better rate, there's nothing we can do. We're gonna raise it. But that's the category that, rich is getting richer, poor is losing everything now. And then the roofing industry, rich is getting richer, unfortunately. So like manufacturers make the most buck that ever did. Suppliers did the same thing. Middle class, us too. But we push it back. I personally feel like it's on the back of the laborers. And what I do see observing social media, there are more and more hate than ever from subs to business owners. I feel like there's no more respect, because all we talk about is how much money we make, Rolexes, cars, opportunities, right? Those guys don't have those. And that would be all okay if we would also pay well. But the reputation that we have among subs, I think, is the most important reputation. And I'm embarrassed to share this, but this sub who came to me, asked for advice, he has his problems. Like, for example, I asked him, what's your price list? I don't have one. I asked roofers to give me one. And I said, you're wrong there. So you have to lead with yours. Maybe you're not going to get it, but you'll negotiate. But it also comes from insecurities. But I opened directory.com and I put his zip code. I said, do you know these guys? He asked me, do you know any contractors in my area you can recommend? I said, the only one I can recommend is, the same recommendation list that I give to the homeowner. So I open up my list and his zip code. He said, oh, I know that company. They don't pay well. I know that company. They're cheap, right? So imagine this. Like, I'm actually recommending contractor. I think they're good guys. But the sub immediately is like, oh, they're so cheap. They pay like 75, right? So when our reputation is that we're cheap and we're not paying proper wage, I mean, you can defend it all you want, but I think we're turning blind eye on a real problem as an industry. And I think that's going to change if we want a better future, for our industry.
Yeah, I mean those are the dudes that they're banging nails, they're stripping roofs, and they're the ones that are truly breaking their back to make a dollar. I think the problematic thing as a contractor, right, is, well, with everything else increasing, as labor increase, then that means that we inherently have to increase our cost to the consumer. So something's got to give. But what I've noticed, my team is guilty of this. The franchisees that we're consulting with are guilty of it. Everybody is pretty much, for the most part, guilty of this. Everybody has this fear of, if I increase my price, customers are going to stop buying, our close rate's going to go down. But I think if you look and you study industries as a whole, it's very, very rare that people increase their price and actually make less money. Now, your close rate might go down, but your cost per transaction is going to increase, right? You might have to run more appointments, but when you do, and you do get that hit, instead of making 40-45% margins, you're making 55-60% margins. You're going to inherently make more money. But everybody has this fear that if they increase their pricing, their price per square, that they're going to price themselves out of the local marketplace. So it's really an evolutionary thing that has to take place with the whole industry, where suppliers, contractors, subcontractors, we all have to kind of band together as brothers and say, hey, look, shit's getting more and more expensive every day, every week, every month. We all have to understand that we all have to make a margin. We all have to feed our families. We all have to make money. So we all have to move together to set a new standard for our consumers. Or you got guys in the marketplace lowballing people, selling asphalt shingle replacements for $350 a square when the going rate in the marketplace is over $600 a square.
Absolutely. Do you feel like we have to, well, I already answer to that question. We probably should not volunteer price increase, right? So you increase the price for materials, you increase your price. We probably shouldn't come to subs like, hey, I'll pay you more now. But with the same thing, when they come to us and say, hey, it cost me more, like I'm gonna charge you this now, I feel like we at least need to stop pushing. But I know it's a tricky question, because we're buying, and it's smarter thing to buy where it's cheaper. It's a good business decision, right? So if you have a sub willing to do it for $80, why not? But I feel like it's a race to the bottom. I feel like we should not look for the cheapest price ourselves. We should also look for, like I know for myself, like there's a few guys in the industry who are known. There are roofing companies who are known to pay more than others. I feel like when you do pay more than others, like when subs know that, hey, that company pays well, just like we contractors, we know that Chubb's insurance pays really well. And we're like, oh, Chubb's, sign me up, right? Like, right.
Yeah.
But this is how subs look at some of our brands. Like, oh, we know that company. It's a decent company, and they have lines of contract. And I think if we do it that way, we increase our standard for subs. Like, I'll hire you, but you have to do this, this, and this, right? I don't know.
Right. Instead of just like, hey, do you have workers' comp and general liability? It's, hey, you have to go through a proper vetting process, because one, we're going to pay a premium. And if we're going to pay that premium, we expect a quality product, good cleanup. And with that, you're going to get better performing subs, and you're going to get people who respect you a lot more. There's that humane element of business that you have to try and hold on to for as long as you possibly can, if not indefinitely, where you have to understand that, like, we're all working. Everybody here is here for a reason. It's to make money. And there has to be that humane element to it. And the second you lose that, you turn into a bunch of corporate assholes that nobody wants to work for, because it's all about making a dollar instead of changing people's lives.
And that's the problem with the industry now, that we're turning into that transaction. It's all transaction. Like, I see a lot of people trying to sell their businesses or selling their businesses. One of the first thing to go is, it's all about numbers. It's a numbers game. And in a numbers game, people get slaughtered. And if you've been working for a company for 10 years and now you let go just because they sold, I mean, it's a heartbroken story every single time.
They have economies at scale, man. They have people who do all the bookkeeping and all the AR and registering all the warranties, and they've consolidated into one little ecosystem at a headquarters, and they're doing it for 10, 15 people's books, right? They don't need those individuals anymore. So the second they come in, they get rid of $200,000-$300,000 worth of overhead, put a multiple of 5 on that. They just made an extra $1.5 million just by getting rid of people.
But you know what's cool? There's still United States of America, the best country in the world.
That's right.
And people here love small business, love winning entrepreneurs. They hate corporate America with a passion. So if you study almost anything, like if you look at I was looking at stats of, I think, plumbing and HVAC. I mean, they have private equity for years, and I think it's still like 13% of the market. So people still like B2B small. Like, we love doing business with a local restaurant versus going to the chain restaurant. I mean, we go to chain, it's convenient, all of that, but we support small business. And most people, like, I remember when I started my company, after first 2 years in business, I started getting feedback from people. I remember I found a customer on Angie's List. It was a second year in business. I have one sales rep and one person in the office and one field guy. So it was 4 of us. But we have wrapped trucks, wrapped vehicles. And I remember I asked homeowner, why did you pick me? He said, Dmitry, to be honest with you, I did not want to go with a big company, but I really like you. I'm like, big company? It's like 4 of us, like, we're doing like less than 2 million a year. But for him, I was corporate, and he was willing to go with someone else, with a smaller guy. Like, so just to show you the mentality of American people, who's like, when they feel like it's too corporate, let me give money, let me support someone local. So we have job security as entrepreneurs. I don't think that private equity will take it all from us. But
yeah, and typically they come in and then they go. They do their thing, they make their money, they move on to the next one. So we'll just have to be, we'll just have to see what happens in the future. We got one last topic here, and I think we're good for today. But with technology, and again, you've seen the evolution, right? As a contractor, pen and paper, then moving into maybe a little Excel file. Now we're moving into a CRM. Now we're moving into AI, right? So big change, but a lot of added benefits. And the biggest hurdle is getting all of these contractors who are not tech savvy to understand the benefits of this. Like, where do you see technology in roofing and automation and really getting after what this is all for, and that's that customer experience?
Absolutely. Well, I think what comes first, like, if you ask right questions to yourself, to AI, whatever, like, even, you can love or hate ChatGPT, you can love or hate education, but I would argue that educated people make better business decisions, in everything. Like, I spent 5 years after I graduated high school, 5 years in college and university. And what I learned, I use every day. Even when I put something in ChatGPT, I would argue that my searches, my questions, my prompts are better than not educated people. Right. In that sense, my education is working for me today. When you make a YouTube video, when you make a sales presentation, when you have a sales meeting with your team, you will be better. So never stop learning, never stop adapting. I mean, if you're not using ChatGPT or CapCut and social media today, what are you using, right? We have to adapt. The world will never be the same, and it's always changing. I mean, you can't, like, we went from radio to TV to internet to AI. Looking back, it's stupid to argue that, when the internet came in, people were arguing that TV is here to stay, and internet, people on TV did not understand internet. And if you watch early clips, like, news anchors would say, what is this thing, internet? Like, right? They did not understand. They thought they have a job security. The same happened with the TV and radio. But people will adapt because we're all lazy. We're all lazy creatures, and we always will pick convenience. Your homeowners will pick convenience. You as a business owner will pick convenience, and convenience always wins. So that's why ChatGPT is beating Google now, because it's more convenient. I don't have time. I don't have 3 hours in a day to Google shit for my presentation. I can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, do this research for me. And boom, and it will do it for you. It will do 3 hours of research in 10 minutes. But you can do it for your business. So whatever you need, it's already there. You just have to adapt. You have to keep learning yourself. I would say the biggest struggle today, the way I see it, because I talk to roofers every freaking day, and the biggest problem is amount of content we consume versus we create. So the balance between entertainment and education is towards entertainment. We're off balance. Like most roofers will tell you, oh, I work 24/7, 367. No, you don't. Let me be honest with you. Give me a phone and let's look at your screen time.
Yeah.
3 hours a day. Like I look at my screen time. Last week I spent 2.5 hours in my calendar. I showed it to my wife. 2.5 hours in my calendar in 7 days. That's how because my calendar is booked, so I'm always opening, moving stuff, right? 2.5 hours in calendar, more than in my Gmail. So and it's productivity category, right? But I guarantee you there are roofers who spend 2-3 hours a day on Instagram entertaining themselves. So today the battle is your productivity is in your hand, but also your entertainment. You have to pick. Do you want to be entertained or do you want to be educated and make money with tools in your hand? You can't do both.
It's almost like a weapon, like a knife or a gun can be used to put food on your table. It could
Exactly.
also be used to commit crime. Like it's a catch-22.
Every Monday I do group calls with my contractors, and today the topic was, I said there's few things that you have to do. You have to master ChatGPT, like master it, and number two, master CapCut. And like with those two, watch any content you want, but create at least one solid video a day. I mean, CapCut is awesome. It takes me like 5-7 videos to create CapCut just for my personal use.
Sure.
When I want to drop my workout video, add some quotes, some cool music, that's what I do. Or for my family, for my kids, or for my trip. So CapCut is awesome, but you have to be intentional about using those tools. And there are more tools coming up freaking all the time, more apps. But if you're intentional about your output, your education, you will be also intentional of cutting out your entertainment. People used to say a lot. Actually, it's funny. People say, I don't watch TV. Like they're bragging about it. I'm productive. I don't watch TV. Yeah, you don't watch TV, but you spend 6 hours between top 3 social media. What's the difference? It's actually worse today. Average person spends 8 hours on their phones. It's worse than watching TV. You're like 10. People say, well, I don't watch TV. I don't watch news. Yeah, but how much time is your social media consumption? It's probably more than people who used to have TV addiction.
Exactly.
Now you just have different addiction.
Right. Very good. Well, Dmitry, we appreciate all the time. We want to be respectful. We know that you got to wrap up, and me and Lester got some things at 1:00 as well. But just one thing that we always like to end these shows with. What's one thing that you would leave our listeners with that they could take from either your experiences in the past, just one piece of advice to help them through their journey, whether it be personal or professionally?
I'm going to finish this podcast the same I finished last podcast when I was a guest. Do what's right every single time, no matter how much darkness or evil you see around you. In this industry, I see that what we see around us start affecting us. Your insurance company is screwing you, denying too many claims. It does not give you the right to go create damage, vandalize the roof just because you have 10 denials that should be approved. Don't make number 11 about you and try to fake the damage, right? Or if you got screwed 10 times, it doesn't give you the right to screw your people now. Do what's right. Okay, people are gonna do bad things to you. Remain human. You only have one reputation. It takes 20 years to build one, Warren Buffett says, and 5 minutes to ruin it. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people compromising their ethics just because even if it feels like, oh, everybody's doing it. Everybody's buying reviews. No, not everybody's buying reviews. I know a lot of people who don't, or everybody's buying views, or everybody. Do what's right every single time. Treat your customers right. Don't settle for less. Don't compromise your integrity. That's my message to people.
Thank you. I think Gary Vee said this saying, which was doing the right thing's always the right thing. Exactly. I believe that came from Gary Vee. So we appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll be more than happy to have you back on in the future. But yeah, man, it's been great getting to know you. Where could people follow you at, Dmitry?
Everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I have a team who publishes all my videos, cut clips and stuff. We're everywhere. I'm a big texter, so my phone number actually, if you go to my YouTube, under every video I publish, I say, if you have a question, just text me. So text me. I'm the one answering all my text messages.
Wow.
If people think it's crazy, it's not crazy. People respect busiest people time. If I give you Mark's Cuban phone number, you're probably not gonna call or text until you have something very important. And that's the trick. So I have my number out there. You can text me if you really need my help. Otherwise, it's just everywhere.
Love it,
All right.
dude.
Very good. To the moon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Dmitry.